right, so first I'm going to start with the background. It's just a shot of a moon, and I'm going to go ahead and go filter, blur, gallery, field blur. I'll do that by 15 pixels. All right, so for this, just go to adjustment layer, curves, and raise the mids. Then I'm going to clip it to that layer just to make it a little bit brighter. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put in this moon shot in the image and put that into screen light blending or screen blending mode. I'm going to duplicate this layer by pressing Control or Command J, and then on the bottom layer, I'm going to put this one into multiply. All right, so we have all this darkness here that we don't want. So I'm just going to use this selection tool here, and while pressing Shift, it'll make a perfect circle. So I'm just going to hold down Shift to kind of only get this. Controller Command C, Controller Command V to copy and paste that. All right, I'm going to put this into multiply, and now we have a realistic looking moon with the screen and multiply together. All right, I'm going to go ahead and delete this and put a mask on this bottom one and just mask out the edges that I don't want. And as you can see, it's much more realistic. I'm going to right click this layer and convert to smart object. And now I'm just going to copy in this blur while pressing Alt option. Just drag up the blur gallery effect and it will go onto that. And I'll do that on both of those layers. All right, so next I'll put this shot I took of myself into the image and also the pumpkin head as well. All right, so I'm just going to take some cloth from this right here by using the pin tool and just kind of going around and getting some of this cloth. Doesn't have to be super perfect or anything. So right click, make selection, 0.5 pixels, and I'll make sure my layer is selected and press Controller Command C, Controller Command V to copy and paste that. And now we have this cloth. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of skew that into position. All right, so now I'm just gonna put a few birds in here. All right, so this bird is different colored than the other ones, so I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to use a hue and saturation adjustment layer, make sure it's clipped to that bird, and reduce the saturation. All right, so the bird was not exposed correctly, so I'm going to use a curves adjustment layer and make sure that's clipped to the bird and just go down in the mids. All right, so the coloring is also off, so I'm going to use a color balance adjustment layer, clip it to the bird, and kind of give it a red and yellow tone to kind of match the lighting that's going on in the scene. And I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that to the other birds as well. So I'm just going to hold Alt option and drag it down to copy and clip, and then same thing, copy, clip. All right, so we're good on all those. So this one in the background, I don't want it to be as orange, so I'm just going to go down on that a little bit. All right, so for the head, the color was almost good, but I just used a curves adjustment layer, clipped it to the head, and gave it a little bit more yellow and red. So for the subject, I added a curves adjustment layer and made sure that blending mode was into luminosity because I didn't want it to mess with the colors. So I'm going to clip that to the subject, and I'm kind of looking at the feet and this hand because they're a little too dark in my opinion and too saturated. So this will help that kind of be more even. So I only want it on those parts. So on the mask, I'm going to press Control Command I to make it black, and then paint with white to reveal where I want that. All right, so this fire, I'm just going to put that into screen. All right, so I have the initial composition ready. So I'm going to do a global color grading, and I'll just press Control or Command Alt option plus Shift plus E, and that will compile everything into a new layer. Right click the layer, convert to smart object, and I'm going to go filter, camera raw, And I will do lots of stuff to this. So I'm going to actually increase the shadows a bit. I want the shadows to be a little bit lighter than they are. Increase the contrast just a little bit. I don't want it too much. Increase the vibrance just a little bit. Just the highlights. I'll go into the curves and go up in the blacks to make it gray and just go down like this. And then I'll go back and increase the exposure. Okay, I'm gonna go into calibration and reduce these blues. Let's go to effects, go to vignette, and definitely want that. So that kind of gives it a good base for what I want to do. All right, so I'm just gonna add like a few effects to the image. All right, so I'm gonna make sure that's in screen blending mode, and I can see a line here. So I'm gonna press Control or Command L, and just go down on the blacks right here until that line is gone. So it's not completely gone because I didn't want to go down too much. So I'm just gonna put a mask and paint with black where that line was. Same thing. I'm just gonna put that into screen and put it into place where I want it. All right, so I'm definitely wanting to blur this. So I'm going to go ahead and convert that to Smart Object. So I'll go Filter, Blur Gallery, Field Blur, and I'll just increase the blur until I like where it's at. That's 35 pixels right there. And I will Alter Option and drag that to the other one as well. All right, so I'm actually gonna reduce the blues in these two because it's a little distracting to me. So I'll do hue and saturation and go into the blues, just kind of reduce that. So now it's less distracting to me. All right, so I'm gonna go into the exposure adjustment layer, and I'm gonna actually just bring it up a lot, and then I'll double click the layer. Then I will take that out of the highlights just to where it's affecting the dark areas where I want it. Kind of brighten the image a bit. Now I'm going to do a bit of a color grade. So I'll just go to color balance and then go to shadows and increase the blues. Double click this, and I want to take that out of the highlights. So I'll just press Alter Option to separate these and kind of take it out of the highlights. I'm going to do the same thing. Color balance adjustment layer. Go to highlights this time. And just give it a bit of red, yellow, and magenta, just a little bit. So the same thing, double click and take that out of the shadows. Make a new layer, put that into screen blending mode, and maybe like a darker orange, and kind of just make this light bloom out a bit. I'll add a new layer. Screen blending mode, and I'm gonna do that with a few more of these things. I'll try vibrance and reduce that. Yeah, so I'll just reduce the vibrance by a little bit because the orange was a little too much. I will press Control or Command Alt or Option plus Shift plus E to compile everything. Put that into a Smart Object. I'll duplicate that by pressing Control or Command J. And on the bottom layer, I will go Filter, Other, High Pass. This one I'm gonna do by 50 and put that into a Soft Light blending mode to kind of give it a really deep sharpen. And I'm gonna reduce that and bring it up until I feel like it's good. All right, so for the top one, I'm gonna go Filter, Other, High Pass, and this will be 2. And I'm gonna put that into overlay. And on this one, I will press Alter Option while pressing the mask button to do an inverted mask. And then I'll just paint white where I want that sharpen. So definitely the head. All right, so for the last step, I wanna put noise on the image. So as you can see, the noise levels are a bit different. I'm just gonna press Alter Option while new layer tab. I'll put that into Soft Light and fill with 50% gray. I'll right click this, convert to Smart Object, Filter, Noise, Add Noise, and I'll do this by 25%. So now as you can see, it's really consistent. All right guys, thank you for watching the edit. If you guys have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comment section. That's all I have for you guys. Have a good one.